Hello everyone, it's Rosmart here and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's, my first video, I want to teach you all the basic fundamentals of Roblox scripting that you will need for your future studies or even to start making your own games from scratch. Let's be clear, I don't know exactly how much this video will take in overall, and I don't promise that I will teach you everything that you need for making anything in Roblox. But what I promise is that you will have all the basics that you need to start doing something. So here I am, and let's start. So once you run Roblox for the first time, you will see such buttons that allow you to create any project from templates. So here we have some templates, and basically what they contain is just some maps, some visuals. In some of them there are also some scripts, but today we will focus on the scripting part, so we don't really want to select any of them. So what I'll do is I will just select the base plate, the most basic template I can select. Okay, so as you see, now everything is loaded, and what it means is that we can start right now. Before we start, I just want to tell you that future videos completely depend on your activity, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you really liked it, and leave a comment with requests for future videos. Thank you in prior. Okay, so the most basic thing that you can do using scripts in Roblox is to change the object's appearance or their location, rotation, etc. in your world that you're creating. So that's what you can do with the scripts, and that's the easiest thing that can be ever done. But the little secret is that basically all the Roblox programming is based on this one small thing. So let's try, and I hope you will repeat after me and you will get your own cool result. So, on the top, I can see that I have this part button. I can also press this triangle and see the small variety of objects, the primitive objects that I can create on my map. I will just use the block here. So, as you see, I have some brick here on my map. And let's program this brick. Take a look at your right part of your screen. You'll probably see the properties window, and all of these properties stand for something about the object you are working with. For example, like brick color property stands for its color actually. So as you see, I'm changing my choice, and the color is changed as well. I can change the fact whether this brick casts shadow or not. I can also change the material, so now it's plastic. I can make it neon, for example. And yeah, let's make it back to plastic. Yep. I can also make it transparent if I want. I can work on its physics, and so on and so forth. But what if I need not like change it once when I'm creating the world? What if it needs to be changed during the game? And that's why we need scripts. So let's go to Workspace and Explorer, and let's hit this plus sign here. Here, I can press Script, and yay! My first script is created, and there is already something. So, print, then parentheses, then quotations, and hello world. And what will happen if I play my game now? And as you see in output window, let me close something. Okay, here in output window, I see hello world. So this line of code means that we print something to this output window. It has no effect to our actual game when we are creating something, but may help us very, very much when we are trying, for example, to find mistakes somewhere in script. So using this command, we are able to check where our code stops. Yeah? So, and if you don't have the output window, what you should do is you should go to the view on top and here press output. And that's basically it. Okay, so seems like it's working. But how do we change the properties of my brick? How do we do that? It's also pretty easy. So let's head to our script. Let's remove this line from here. And first of all, when you're working with some object, what you need to do is to let your script find it in your game. So as you see in Explorer window, you have a pretty huge list of objects. And if I wrap everything, then I see that I have my Explorer, then I have some folders, for example, workspace folder, and inside workspace, I have some other objects. So let me just show you how we type the path to our part, to this brick that we have just created. So let's type game. So everything that is here is of course in our game. So that's why we type game. And then the first thing that we see here is these folders. We don't see our object because it's inside workspace. So before assigning the name of our object, defining our object, we define folder where it's located. So game.workspace, and then inside workspace we see the part. So game.workspace.part. Great. And inside the part there are all these properties. For example, let's find our transparency. So part.transparency. And okay, we found the thing that we need to change. But how do we change it? It's pretty easy. We just tell like, hey, you, now you equal 1. So we define that now, since this moment, since our script starts, our transparency is 1. So if I will now run my game, what I'll see is that this object disappeared. I can still select it, but it's invisible because I changed my transparency property to 1. And that's basically how it's working. So inside game, there is workspace. Inside workspace, there is part. And inside part, there is transparency. And we need to make transparency be 1. Why we use 1 here is because in properties window, we're able to see how each value looks. There are checkboxes, there are numbers, there are colors, and there are even words, like for material. So here it's just a number. It can be minimum of 0 and maximum of 1. So I just know what to assign here. But what should we do, for example, with the checkboxes? Let me show you. So let's play our game. I will just show you that my brick is collidable, and we will later change it. So, okay, you see that I don't have it visible here, but I can step on it, so I can collide it. But if I will now go here and will again type game.workspace.part, and instead of transparency I will type the name of other property, which is called can collide, I can set it to false. So checkboxes can be whether true if it's checked or false if it's not checked. So that's it. If I will now play here, once again, I'll be able to see that now I cannot step on it. So it's uncollidable now since this moment. Great. And let's also try, I don't know, for example, let's make it neon. So I'll remove this transparency part because I want it to be visible. And let's change other properties. So like game.workspace.part.material equals neon in quotations, because when we work with texts here, we use quotations. And how it will look now, if I will run my game, yay, now it's neon, now it's glowing. And as it's uncollidable, it just falls through our land. So we'll also remove this can collide thing, or we'll just set it to true. And let's do the same thing with transparency. So let's just set it to 0. Okay. So, and what if I want to change my color? It may be even more confusing, but don't worry. The more you practice, the easier it will start to become. So, again, path to the object. Dot, I don't know. Okay, let's change the color. So, dot brick color, here is this property. And we don't use number to define the brick color. We don't use true or false, and we don't use any word. What we use here is we define that there is brick color.new, and only then in quotations we define the actual color that we are using. For example, neon orange. Yay! Now it looks like very, very glowing carrot. Great. It looks nicest for me. So, okay. And for example, let's now change something else. Let's place it higher. So again, game.workspace.part, and then the property you want to change is called position. So here in properties you can see position. And for now it's like x 10.635, y 0.5, and z 1.008. And so why do we have 3 numbers for our position? It's pretty easy. So if I will use my move tool here, I will see that I have 3 main directions where I can move it. So it can be, let's see, like from this perspective. So like forward and back, left and right, up and down. So what we see here is that z coordinate is responsible for forward and back, red is x coordinate, so left and right, and green coordinate up and down y. So if I want to place it higher, then I will need to manipulate my y coordinate. So I will not change x and z. Let's try it. So position. And how do we define these 3 numbers? For working with positions, scales, velocities, rotations, what we use is vector3.new. That's just something to remember, like brickcolor.new. But if for brickcolor.new we use the name of the color, here we'll use 3 numbers. So they go in alphabetic order, x, y, and z. So we leave x the same, like 10.432. Then we'll change y a little bit later, so let's just put 0 for now. And comma, and the last number is the same, we don't change it. So 1.286. And about the y coordinate, let's put it higher. Let's make it 5, for example. So, and now if I will run my game, I will see the effect. Okay, but it falls down because my brick is affected by physics. It can be turned off as well using the anchored property. So let's change our anchored property to true. Let's anchor it. So game.workspace.part.anchored equals true. Okay, and what we see here now. Yay! That's pretty high. Okay, let's move on. So, and the last thing that we will learn about properties is, I guess, let's rotate it. So game.workspace.part, orientation, this property stands for rotating it. And again, we use vector3.new. Let's leave everything the same. Let's just change the y coordinate. So instead of 0, 0, 0, we'll have 0, 90, 0. Not 90, let's make it 45. Run. And yeah, now you see it's rotated. Great. And let's also change the size property. So size, and as I said before, size is also changed using the vector3.new. So now your own task is to manage the size of your brick. So I will erase this part of code while you will look at the list of tasks that I have prepared for you to practice the skills that you gained. Okay, now let's move on. For you to better understand how all these paths work, let me rename my object. I'll go to Workspace, right-click, rename, and instead of part, let's type brick. So what will happen now if I launch my game? Okay, as you see, there is something red in the output, so it tells us that in script in line 1 there is an error. And yeah, all the other lines are just not working because this error just stopped the script from working. What is the reason? The thing is that now we don't have any part object in our workspace. So what we should do here now is to change all parts to bricks. So let's do it now and check if it's working. Yep, okay, let's run the game. And yeah, everything works and there are no errors in the output. Great. And as you see, I can step on my brick. Cool, cool thing. Wow. And now, let's understand one pretty interesting fact. The fact is that we just lost like 20 seconds just changing the name from part to brick. And during the project creation, you will often need to move something, to change something. For example, like I can create a folder here, call it, I don't know, for example, objects test, move it there, and my script will not work again. And now I need to change every line once again. I don't like it. So there is actually a way that will help us to do it in a better and more easier way. What I'll do here is I will define something called brick. So my brick equals game.workspace.objectstest.brick. And now everywhere instead of my game.workspace.brick, I will type brick. Okay, I'm done. And let's check if it works now. And yeah, it works fine. Let's stop the game. And now, if we will head to our script, we'll see that there is this brick thingy, and we just type brick everywhere, and it works perfectly. And if we will now, for example, move brick back to workspace, the only thing we'll need to change is like remove this thing from here. So now it's again game.workspace.brick. And if we test it, it works perfectly. Yeah. So it makes it more convenient for us. And what we have just created here is called a variable. A variable is a small storage where we can store some piece of information. What I mean by piece of information is an object reference, object path, like here. It can be a number, or it can be a color, it can be a vector coordinates, it can be a text, like almost anything. If I will now, for example, create a variable called text equals quotations hello world, and we'll now use print text. So here in this print command that you already know how to use, instead of putting anything in quotations, I just use a reference to my text variable. And if I launch my game, then in output, I'll be able to see this hello world text. So what we did is we created some storage. This storage has a name, brick, or text, and inside this storage, using the equal sign, we put some information. We can like create a variable called transparency level and put it into 1, and like here instead of 0, let's put transparency level. Okay, so we again use the reference here. And if we launch the game, yeah, it works. So we don't see our object. It's transparent 1 now. And that's it. If we change it now to 0, the reference will get it from inside the transparency level variable. And once we run the game, the transparency is now 0, because transparency level variable is 0. And you can name it wherever you want, like lol. Okay, LOL, let's use LOL, like here, okay. Run the game, and yeah, it works fine, great. And in some cases, you will need to work with the same value during all over the script. And imagine that you have tons and tons and tons of information, tons and tons and tons of lines of code. And if you change something, it will be incredibly inconvenient to change it in every line of code where it's used. So that's why we use variables and just change it once somewhere in the beginning of your script, and all the links get the necessary information from the reference that you provide there. That's really, really convenient. Also, variables are needed to store information like player's health, I don't know, player's ammo or stamina or mana or anything. And there are two types of variables in Roblox. We can use these variables like variables inside the script that work inside the script. Or what we can also do is we can create variables. I don't know, let's go to server storage folder, and here let's create int value. So plus int value, and we have this object. And inside it, we have this value property. Let's put it to what? Let's make it 1. And let's name it transparency level. And this variable can be accessed from all the scripts. So what I do now is I head to my script, and here, instead of my brick.transparency.lol equals lol, I will use game.serverStorage.transparencyLevel.value. Okay. And that's it. So it took the variable from here. That's how it works. And yes, we set property of our brick using the property of other object. And yes, this is also possible to do. The next thing I want to do as well is to teach you how to work with mathematics in Roblox. And why we need mathematics here is because sometimes we will not use the exact values. We will add something, we will subtract something, we will multiply something. And yeah, that's why we need mathematics. And let's see how can we use them here. For example, here when I'm changing the position, let me highlight this line. I don't want to use the exact value. I want to take the current value and add something there. So what I do is I address to my brick and then position. So brick.position equals brick.position. So nothing is changed. But what we are able to do is to use plus sign and add something to the value we have here. How can we do that? So remember one important thing. Number can be added to number. And any other type of value, if it's possible, can be added only to the same type. So we can add only number to transparency. And to vector 3, which is used for position, we can add only vector 3. So brick.position plus vector3.new. and we add 0 to x because we don't want it to put we don't want to put it to the left or to the right, so we use 0. We do existing value plus 0, then comma, let's add 5 to y and 0 to z. And what will happen now? Yeah, okay, we don't see our brick. Let's change our transparency level to 0, so we'll see it now. Run. And yeah, it works. Now it's again pretty high above the ground. So we use the existing value and we use this value plus something. Or instead of it, we can use minus. Now it's below the ground. Yay! We can also do some multiplication here, for example. For example, let's make it multiply by 5. So what will happen now is all the coordinates of my brick's position will be multiplied by 5. So x is multiplied by 5, y is multiplied by 5, and z as well. So now it has some offset. And that's basically the thing about how we use mathematics in Roblox. And let's create some pretty cool project based on the mathematics and one more cool topic that I want to teach you. My idea is to create a windmill. So let's just create a simple windmill right now, and I will teach you one more cool topic. So what I will do here is I will add a cylinder. Let's rotate it like that. Okay, let's make it higher. Just like that. Yep. Let's add one more cylinder. Let's put it, for example, here. Okie dokie. Let's anchor all these things. Those parts will be static, so we'll not use scripts for them. We'll just set them up for now. Okay, material, let's make it wood. And the color, some kind of brown. Here as well, let's use wood and some brown color, maybe just different tint. Like that. Okay, okay, great. So let's run the game and see if it's static, if it's not moving. Okay, cool, cool. And now let's work on our windmill, the exact part that will rotate. So what I want to do is I want to make a block here. Let's resize it. Now, let's duplicate it with Ctrl-D command, or Command-D if you're using Mac. Rotate the duplicate, and now I select them both with my mouse, or if it's uncomfortable, I hold down Shift while everything is unselected and press 1 and then 2, like first and second. And now I had to model and union. So now instead of two parts, I have just one part. Yeah, but what I should have done, let's do Ctrl-Z for canceling the last action. I want to change the color and the material to wood for better aesthetics. And now I can make a union. So model, union, great. Okay, now it's just lying on the ground, so let's rotate it. And let's attach it here to the platform I created. Okay, great. And of course it should be anchored, because we don't want it to be affected by gravity. So anchored. Let's check it. Okay, It looks pretty cool, but it's not moving, and that's not the result I really want to see here. So let's fix it. First of all, let's not forget about the order. So let's put all the windmill stuff inside windmill folder. So I'll create a folder here, or instead of folder, which is basically the same thing but just with more features that you will learn in future, let's create a modal. So modal, let's rename it into wind mill, and we'll put our union and those two parts inside my windmill modal. To select several objects in Explorer, I hold down Control. So like holding down Control without releasing, I click Part, Part, and Union. I put them inside Windmill, and now they are inside one modal. And here, let's rename Union into Fan. Like right-click, rename, and then you rename. And also, let's go to Windmill plus Script. So we'll make another script that will work with our windmill. So as you remember, we need to type a path to our object. So in this case, it will be game.workspace. Then inside workspace there is windmill. So dot windmill dot fan. So here is our fan. But there is also another way to define the path. So we can do reverse thing. We can go from script, not from the game, but from the exact script where we are typing all this stuff. How it looks. So let's type script.parent. Script.parent is the object where our script is located. Windmill. That's it, and then we just type fan. And here we are. If you will need it, in some cases you can type script parent parent, for example. So twice parent is parent of my parent. So parent of windmill is workspace. Script's parent is windmill, and windmill's parent is workspace. So now we are in workspace, and we can find anything here. For example, base plate. That's how it's working. So let's define fan for more comfortable work. So fan equals script.parent.fan. And what we will now work on is looping. So we need something to be repeated again and again and again and again. And to do this, we will need the loop. There is such a cool loop that is called while. So we will make something work while something is true. Just after while I use enter and other parts of the loop are created. So while, let's type something is true, do end. For example, like print hola. So, and instead this something is true, let's type true. So while true is true. That's what it means. So while true do, print hola. And like, after we print, let's wait 1 second. We also have wait command to wait between the lines of our code. And let's see what will happen. Hola, 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 hola. And it repeats and repeats and repeats. Why it happens? Because on line 4 of our code, the loop starts. This loop is repeated until something becomes false. So like, it repeats while something is true. And here, as a condition, we have true. The question is, when true is true? It's always true. So the loop repeats always. And that's the idea. So we have infinite loop. And everything inside this loop will be repeated infinitely, again and again. So it prints hola, waits. Prints, waits. Prints, waits. because it's stuck inside this loop. And that's the idea that we want to use for our windmill. Of course, there are better and more professional ways to do stuffs like windmill, fans, carousels, etc. But we'll now just practice our work with variables, with properties, with loops, and so on. That's our idea for now. What we'll do now is we'll go to fan.orientation equals current orientation of our fan, so like fan.orientation, and we'll make plus something. Let's go to our fan. Current orientation of my fan is 0, 0, 90, and I want to rotate it like that. And as you see, while I'm rotating it, the x-axis is changed. So I will need to add something only to my x-axis. So fan.orientation plus vector3.new, because here we have vector3, and we can add only vector3 to it. So 1 degree to x, and we add nothing, so we add zeros to other two coordinates, and we wait. So instead of waiting 1 second, let's wait 0.1, so second divided by 10. And if we run our script, we'll see that now our windmill is rotating, because the infinite loop that we have created is constantly taking the existing orientation of our fan, current orientation of our fan, and adding a degree, then waiting, then again taking the existing orientation, adding a degree, and making it a new fan orientation. And it repeats again and again and again. Okay, something is broken. That's not something that's supposed to happen. Let's try to fix it. So if I go to my fan, I see that there is a mistake here. Not our mistake, that's just how Roblox actually works. Once we hit 89, the other coordinates automatically change as well. So what we want to do here is once we reach the value of our x orientation 89, we immediately bring it back to 0, to its starting point. So its starting point is 0, so let's just set everything up to the default orientation. So vector3.new, as you see, our default is 0, 0, 90, so 0, 0, 90. But we won't do it each repetition of our loop. We will do it only under exact actual conditions. And how do we check if this condition is true? And the if word is the main here. So we'll type if something is true, then do something. So if something is true, let's take this stuff, select it, and bring here. So under which circumstances will we set it to the defaults? We'll set it if our x-coordinate of orientation is 89. So if fan.orientation, and the funny thing is that inside orientation we have 3 other properties like x, y, and z. So we can just check x without affecting the others. So we check if fan.orientation.x equals 89. But in programming, there is pretty confusing things. As you see now, we used equals, and it highlights it with the red color, because it doesn't expect to see equal here. So equal sign is used when we assign a new value. But when we want to check or to just tell a fact that something already equals something, we use double sign. So like that. And as you see now, we have no errors. Okay, let's see how it works now. We can also unwrap all this stuff and see how it works for now. So, as you see, without visibly affecting our windmill, it just silently, quietly does its thing and rotates again and again and again. Okay, seems cool, seems cool. What also we can do here is we can define what will happen in other case, whether this thing is not true. To do that, let's type else. So if fan orientation X is 89, we bring it to defaults, or else if it's not true, so otherwise we print everything is okay. Let's check how it works now. Yeah, seems fine. Everything is okay. Cool. We did another cool thing. So now I want to introduce the other types of loops that you can meet in Roblox to you. Okay. Let's make it the way our windmill will rotate only once. So I will select all this code, right click and toggle comment. So now this script is comment, which means that it's not readable by the actual game. It's just random text. The game just doesn't work with it in any way. There is also such a loop that is called for loop. Let me show you. So for I equals 1, 50, 10, let it be 10, do print I and wait 0.2 seconds. So if I'll run my game now, I will see that it repeats typing my I variable until it becomes 10. So what I do here is I assign some variable, assign its starting value and finishing value. And what it does, it repeats, and after each repetition, it's not visible here, it adds 1 to my variable. So my starting value for I is 1. It goes once, then it becomes 2. And next time it prints 2. And then 3, and then 4, and then so on until it becomes our final value. So it's 10. And after it's 10, after it reached the final value, it stops. What we can also do is we can assign a third number here. So we have number 1, number 2, and we can add a third number that will lead us to setting the step, how it will go. So it will not be increased by 1 each step now. It will be increased by 2, or by 3, or by any number we type here. Let's check it out. So now it types 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And then, as it's bigger than our greater value, after our final value, it just doesn't show anything. It stops at 9. Because after it increases by 2, there is 11, and it's just not displayed. The loop stops automatically. And that's the idea of for loop. So how can we use it for our windmill? Is we can make it like for I equals 0, the final value will be 90. We'll remove the steps, so it will be automatically 1 if we don't assign anything here. And what we do here is we go to fan.orientation equals vector3.new. Let's put everything to 0, but instead of x, we will use our I variable. So first time it will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, and so on until it reaches the 90. And that's the idea. And we'll add weight 0.1. So let's see how it works now. Okay, yeah, I just made a mistake because my default z coordinate is 90. So I will give it at 90. Let's see it now. Cool. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And another cool loop that we can use is called repeat until. So here everything is pretty like the same. So we can use fan.orientation equals fan.orientation plus vector3.new 0, 0, 0. So we add nothing, but to x we add 1. And after adding we wait 1 second until fan.orientation equals. So here it's a fact, it already equals, so we use double equal sign until it equals vector3.new 89, okay, like 90, 0, 90. Okay, so let's comment this script. And instead of waiting 1 second, let's wait second divided by 10. Okay, let's check it out. So it will repeat the same action until something becomes true. So in this point, as you see, it again breaks because because after x value reaches 90, Roblox starts doing some weird stuff automatically. So instead of 90, let's use 89. And if we test it now, and it stops because on this point it reached the value we need. So this condition that fan.orientation equals 89, 0, 90 becomes true and the loop stops automatically. Okay. So now you know how all the main loops in Roblox Studio work. So what I want to offer you now is to see that all the code that we have just created starts exactly when we run the game. But what if we want to make it like be started when something happens? For example, when we click the windmill, it does 1 rotation. It's also doable, so it's possible. Let's go to our fan, and here we will add a special object called click detector. That's just an object which assigns possibility to click the parent object. So now we are able to click our fan. Nothing will actually happen for now because we didn't assign what should happen when we click it. So let's do it now. Let's now do it. How do we work with events? So first of all, we type the path to the object, like, let's call it the victim of the event happening. In our case, the victim is click detector. So we assign path to it. And then we assign what happened to it. So it's typed the same way as properties. But when you will put a dot, you will see such things with lightning icon. And that stands for events. And there is such event like mouse click. Okay. And after we do that, we put a colon, connect. So that stands that when click detector was mouse clicked, we connect some functionality. That's just something to remember about events. When we use events, we use colon and connect. So we connect something. And what we connect is called a function. Function is a piece of code that was put inside some box. Let's call it box. Okay. So functions are just boxes with code. And when we work with events, basically we just type function, just parentheses, it's just for you to remember, and this end with parenthesis in the end. and between them we write the exact code that should be executed when we click the object. And what we'll do here is we will just move this loop. Okay, let's format it a little bit. And let's see what happens now. So, when the click detector is clicked, we connect some function. Let's not pay much attention to functions now, it's not important. But what's between function and end? Our loop. So our loop will be connected only when the click detector is clicked. So let's play here. Click. And boom, it starts working. And that's the point. So what we also need to implement is making the default orientation every time we click the fan. So fan orientation equals vector3.new 0.0, 0,0,90. So if we'll play now, click, okay. I clicked again and it becomes default. But as you see, it becomes a little buggy because these loops duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So we need to somehow border this possibility. So every time we click click detector, we'll check if the windmill is not already working. It can be done pretty easily. So as you remember, we're able to create int values, but as well, we are able to create bool value here. And let's call it is working. And by default, it's false. So, and when we click the click detector, we'll check if script.parent.fan.isWorking.value equals double equals false, only then let's select this code and move it here. Okay, it's pretty broken now, so what I do is right click, format document, and it becomes more beautiful and understandable. So only if it's working, then it starts the thing. And once the thing starts, we need to make this value true, so it will not work the next time. Equals true, and after the loop ends, we'll make it back to false, so someone other will be able to use our windmill. So script.parent.fan is working, value equals false. Okay. Okay, and now I click and click and click, but nothing actually happens. It just keeps rotating. Now it stopped, and if I click it, it makes one rotation more. Great. That's the result I wanted to achieve. Well done. I hope you succeeded as well. Okay. And now let's work with this word function. As I told you before, that's a pack where some code is actually packed. So yeah, let me show you how it works. So to create a function, I type function, and let's call it windmill rotation. So I type function, I type preferable name for my function, I type brackets, and hit enter. So now I have this end. And let me just move all this script and move it inside my windmill rotation. So now I have function windmill rotation that checks something, then sets something, then changes orientation, and then again sets something. So If I will now head to my game and will click it, nothing will happen. Why? Because actually nothing is now happening when we click the click detector, and this function by itself doesn't start. We need to call it. And how do we call it? So let's type the name of our function, brackets, and yeah, so now if click detector is clicked, we call windmill rotation function. And yeah, it works perfectly. Great. And also, if you have seen, there was some weird parentheses. So what do we do with them? So for functions, we can assign arguments or parameters. What does it mean? Is that we can provide some values each time we call a function that this function will work with. Let me show you the example. When we create a function, we're able to create the parameter speed. And instead of changing our fan orientation by 1 degree, we will change it by speed degree. And when we call this function, let's for example type 3. So when I'm calling my function, I also use parentheses. And what's in parentheses goes here instead of the speed value. So when this function will be working, it sets 3 degrees rotation. So let's run our game now. And as you see now, it rotates pretty faster. That's it. It a little bit breaks our script, but it doesn't matter actually. So now we're able to use arguments within a function. Let me show you another example. So here after a speed argument, I will type text argument. And when my function begins, I will print this text. So it's just print text. But when we are calling the function, also after the comma, let's use some text. So abracadabra. Let's run the game. Abracadabra. So it not only rotates, but also uses our second argument that we provided. Okay. Yeah. And the last thing I'm gonna teach you for today is another event that you can use for building pretty cool stuff in your games. So let's create a block on our map. Okay. Let's make it anchored. Good. Let's, I don't know, make it red. And yeah, let's rename it into the button. And right now, let's assign another event here. So script, let's use not script.parent, let's use game.workspace.button.touched. So there is also event touched for parts and mesh parts. Connect function, parentheses, the same way as we did before. But this time, in parentheses, let's type hit. In this case, we won't do anything with the argument with this function. We'll not assign it in any way, because for touched event, it automatically works in such a way that hit is a part that actually touched someone, that actually touched the button that we assigned this event to. And we will check what is this hit, who touched us. So let's play our game and let's see some cool thing. So while I'm in game, I'm able to check my Explorer, and here there is my character, and I see many parts here. And I need to somehow see if part that touched the button belongs to the actual character. So for today we'll do it in a simple way, not the way it's created in serious project, but we'll just try out something. So we will see that any part that touched parent, that touched the button, is parented to the object who has humanoid inside it. Usually, like always, player characters have humanoids inside them. Also NPCs have, but in this game we don't have NPCs, so we can skip it for now. So my idea is to check that the part who actually triggered the touched event is parented to some object that has humanoid inside it. That's the logic I want to use, and it can be done pretty easily. So we check if hit.parent, and then we will use a special function. So we define the path to our hit.parent, so parent of the part who touched the button. This function is called findFirstChild. So again we use colon here, findFirstChild, humanoid. So this means if in parent of our hit part we're able to find the child object, we're able to find a child object inside it with the name humanoid, and if yes, if this is true, then what we'll do is we'll go to hit.parent.humanoid.walkspeed. Yes, humanoid have property walkspeed, and let's set it to 50. Let's see it now. And yeah, once I touched the button, my walk speed increased. And that's a pretty cool stuff that you can experiment with in your own games. I know that this findFirstChild part may sound confusing for today, but remember that it's just the very basic fundamentals videos, and in future you will learn with me in deep how this thing works. And by the way, if you're interested in it, we'll go through all the topics that were learned today for better understanding and more examples. But for today, we really learned tons of stuff. And I'm sure that if you're interested and if you will show it with, let's say, thousands of likes, we'll have a second part where I will show more topics. And if you are interested in more deep understandings of some topics mentioned today, don't forget to write it in a comment. I will read all the comments, and for future videos, we'll try to discuss all the topics that may sound or be used confusingly for you. The best way to support the next videos coming is to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe leave a comment. Thank you very much for your potential support, and see you next time. Bye bye.